Hey everybody, how's it going? What is up? It is me, Twister. And let's start this off with a story. There was a guy that was going to fly home to see his parents for a holiday or something. And he gets a call from the girl he likes. And she said that she wished he had a car so that he could come and pick her up and they can go home together. And he tells her a little lie, a little white lie, and says that he has a car and he'll be back to pick her up. And he goes and sells his ticket and goes buys a car. And then he's on his way to go pick her up. And along the way, he stops and calls home and finds out that his brother is in trouble. So he makes a detour to go help his brother out. And then his brother comes along on the adventure. And they stop at a truck stop. And a CB gets installed in the car, which the brother that bought the car didn't want, but the other brother bought it. And so after that, they decided that they wanted to pull a plank on a trucker. So the brother that sold his ticket to buy the car decided that, it was a bad idea. But his brother kept on, and said for him to get on the CB and, be a girl, do a girl's voice, and pick up a trucker. So he does, reluctantly, and he chooses the name Candy Cane. And they prank Candy Cane, and they stop at this hotel, and they tell him the wrong room number. The truck driver shows up with the champagne and everything. I forget what it was. It was pink something. And the trucker nearly tears the jaw off of the guy that answers the door. And they thought it was going to, they didn't know till the next day because they wanted to get revenge on the dude for the dude being rude and everything. And the trucker gets a hold of him shortly after this and makes him walk into a diner naked. And after they do that, the girl gets kidnapped. And yeah, if this sounds familiar, it's probably because it's this movie, which is one of the movies I first saw Paul Walker in, next to the Fast and the Furious. I can't remember if the Fast and the Furious came out before this or after it. And the trucker's name was Rusty Now. I don't remember the characters' names of the brothers, or even the girl. I know that Steve Zane and Lily Sabitsky was in it, along with Paul Walker. And this happens to be one of my favorite movies. And you may be wondering why I'm bringing this up. Well, I'm bringing this up because of the sequels. There's now 3 in the series. The second one, I'm not exactly sure when it was made. I want to say it was like 2-3 years ago. And that movie was pretty forgettable, I have to admit. Now, we just got done watching Joyride 3, Roadkill. That came out last year. And I have to admit, that movie was, in its way, almost as good as this. Not better, but almost as good. The first movie goes through painstaking and all this other stuff to keep Rusty Nail's face hidden. I mean, you see his mouth and everything. And they had some other guy that has a really interesting voice do the voice of Rusty Nail. Second one, I think they ditched that whole idea. And third one, I definitely know they ditched the whole idea. Because the third one has, I forget the dude's name, but he played Jason Voorhees in Freddy vs. Jason, and he's like 6'5". The guy in the first movie, I think, was either 6 something or 7 something. I'm not quite sure. Not sure what the guy is in the second one. But pretty much the second one, these kids, teenagers, young adults, whatever, I forget exactly what they're supposed to be. Car breaks down and they find Rusty Nail's house. And they steal his car. And of course that infuriates Rusty. It doesn't seem to take much to infuriate Rusty. And so the whole movie is him picking them off one by one, and just, I think he even destroys his own car in the movie or something. And I can't remember if there's any survivors. I know that in the first movie, the 2 brothers and the girlfriend survived. The second one, I can't remember. Like I said, it was a forgettable movie. Now, the third one starts out interesting. It's these 2 people in a hotel, and they're, doing drugs. And while doing drugs, she gets all horny and decides to do it. And then she finds out there's no more drugs, and she can't, do sexual stuff without the drugs. And so they try to call out on a truck driver on a handheld CB. And they, call out, get Rusty Nail. She says her name is Candy. He says that he once knew a candy cane. And so they try to rob him, but of course, Rusty Nail gives an upper hand, ties him to the front of his truck, hooks a chain up underneath to the CB joint, or whatever that thing is, and has the chain running underneath it, and if the chain slides back to the joint, the universal joint, that's what it is, UB joint, it will pull them under the truck and, of course, rip them to shreds. And all they have to do is hang on for a mile. Well, they hang on for a mile. And the girl decides to go for the drugs that he strapped to his windshield, which I think was crystal meth. And, the rule was he'd give them the drugs when he stopped. Well, she couldn't wait, so she goes for it. He falls off, gets ripped to shreds, which drags her underneath. And it's like, cool. And, of course, the police get involved. Because it's on Route 17, which I don't remember if the first movie takes place on Route 17 or the second. I have to re-watch them again, even though the second one was... I really don't want to watch the second one. It was awful. And so the police are investigating, and then it cuts to these people that's testing out their car. They have all souped up and ready for racing, because they're going to some race. And they're working on this car. They take a group photo. And then, they're making it to Canada to get to the race. They stop off and ask this one truck driver who has a big conspiracy theory about Route 17, because electronics supposedly stopped working and cell phones don't work and people disappear and all kinds of bad things happen. And it's like, wow. But they take it anyway because they wanted to test out the car, because all they've done was rev the engine and hook it up to computers and do diagnostics and no real world test. And while doing this test to see if the car is ready, they piss off a truck driver. And the truck driver, of course, is Rusty Nail. And after an interesting road battle, because their support truck and the race car are together, and that has extra fuel and everything, they go up against Rusty Nail, and the trailer gets knocked off the road, and they do some fancy smancy driving. which, of course, Fast and the Furious puts to shame in the first movie. I mean, it was pretty good stunt driving, I guess, for what it was, but I don't know. It's pretty bad when the first Fast and the Furious has, better stunt driving than that, and the series has progressed. And I bring that up because Paul Walker was in all of those, as well as, this. And I think the Fast and the Furious series, except for maybe the first one, because I think the stunt driving was just right in it. It wasn't nothing over the top or anything, just what it needed. And then the second and third one try to have some over the top stunts that just, I mean, it was pretty impressive. And the third one for what it was, because they kind of went back to the basics and did some stuff, but the opening, the rest of the movie, there's not really much racing stunts in it. So, that one scene. But, and they piss off Rusty now, and they go through this whole thing of trying to make it even with Rusty, which anybody knows that you can't get settled with Rusty, because it either gets to the point where the cops are called, or you just get away, which is how it is. And so they try to settle the debts, and then they get picked off one by one, and it has an interesting conclusion. It'd be interesting to see if they come out with another Joyride this year, or next year, or the year after. I mean, this is 2015, and with as often as they're making direct-to-DVD movies, they probably can just pop one out, sometime later this year, maybe third or fourth quarter. But yeah, this is still by far my favorite, because I like the story to it. The second one's story was, I think, been done too many times in some form or fashion. The third one may have, been done before, but it's done in a way where it's, pretty good. Some of the stuff, and I hate to say it, seemed like Saw, something that could have easily have been in Saw. Which is interesting to think that movies like Saw and Final Destination has interesting effects on horror movies, especially Halloween. So that's pretty much, the whole thing with the Ride Trilogy for now. It's interesting to know that J.J. Abrams, that brought us Star Trek and a whole bunch of other movies, and is getting ready to bring us the reboot of, what was it? Oh, that's right. Yeah. He's getting ready to bring us a reboot of that. Now, is it really necessary for a reboot? I mean, they've rebooted so much stuff. And the reboot of Halloween done by Rob Zombie was pretty good. The reboot of Friday the 13th wasn't great, but wasn't horrible. It was just a retelling of the first 3-4 movies. And then they came out with Total Recall, which they came out with the reboot of RoboCop. And they came out with the latest reboot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I loved in the 80s. And it was... how do you want to put this? Well, they'll just say the elevator scene is probably the best part of the entire movie. And I don't know what they did with the turtle heads. But if it is true and they are making a sequel to it, please fix the heads of the turtles. Seriously, I know this is fiction, but good Lord. I mean, seriously, fix the head of the turtles. That was just awful. So awful. I'm actually surprised that they're not coming out with another Resident Evil movie, to be honest with you, because it's been quite a while since we had it. And they could easily keep that going on forever, just like they could kept Saw going on forever. And Friday the 13th and Halloween, the Leprechauns, which crap, could have went on forever. Final Destination could go on forever. So J.J. Abrams, I hope this reboot that you're doing, that I'm actually excited about for once. Because I haven't really been excited about many reboots. Maybe the Zombie, because Rob Zombie was an interesting character in the 80s and 90s when he was doing his music, and him giving a chance to do a reboot of Halloween was like awesome. But J.J. Abrams, don't screw this up, please. I know you're all about giving the fans what they want, but just don't screw this up. And I bring that up just because he created the characters in this. So, anyway, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.